Hi everyone, welcome to the Ravit Show. Another episode today with one and only Leo from Cloudera, who's the CPO there, joining us to discuss some exciting developments in the database world. We'll dive into key drivers behind extending Cloudera database to on-prem environments, and also how AI and natural language querying are transforming the user experience and what the future holds for this powerful platform. I'm excited because I saw this news sometime back, and I was kind of curious to learn more and go more in depth. But here we have Leo who's joining us. So, Leo, first of all, thanks for joining the Ravit Show. It's your debut. I'm super excited to chat today.
Absolutely. Pleasure to be here, Robert.
Fantastic. Leo, just for audience, quickly wanted to learn a little bit about what you do at Cloudera. Just a quick intro.
Yeah, I'm the Chief Product Officer at Cloudera. I got here at the beginning of this calendar year.
Nice.
Our CEO Charles Sansbury is building out a superstar team, and I'm proud to be part of that team. I run the product, the engineering, and the customer support groups for Cloudera.
That's fantastic. Thanks for sharing that, Leo. And we've been kind of, obviously seeing all the great work that Cloudera is doing and all the exciting announcements that you all have been coming up. Talking about an announcement, I saw the Cloudera Data Visual to on-prem environments. So kind of curious to know what was the key catalyst behind extending Cloudera Data Visualization to on-prem environments. What's the story behind that?
Yeah, so if you don't, I'll back up and talk just about data visualization. I was struck recently how powerful and how valuable that is. Here in Texas, where I live, we had a lot of flooding. I think that's national news.
Yeah.
On the other side of that, all the lakes fill up, and that's just an obsession of all of us as the lakes rise. How far is it till it floods? And they have all these great websites, which is this many thousand acre feet and this kind of hectares, and just tons and tons of nearly indecipherable data.
Yeah.
And then they have a picture that shows you, min, mean, and then shows the rise and what's going to happen next. And a picture is worth 1,000 words. A data visualization is worth, 1 million points of data, right? It's just like the way people want to consume data. Most of the solutions out there you're going to find on the public cloud, right? Because of the as a service solutions that are on the cloud, that's the easy button out there, right? So whether you're on Google or Microsoft or AWS or whatever else, these cloud-based solutions tend to have more rapid innovation because all the ecosystem that pops up around them. So lots of visualization solutions exist out there, and we had it out there too. But we got a lot of clients for whom the data in their data center, especially you think about regulated industries, banking and finance, you talk about government, you talk about healthcare,
Totally.
just so many places that have massive amounts of data, and it's on premise, it's in their data center, and they need to be able to do the same thing. They need to be able to see that data to make value out of it.
Exactly. And I think that is definitely a good point where you're kind of, thinking about the regulated industries, because sometimes we've been, obviously I've worked with a lot of enterprise leaders, and I've heard this sort of pain point where they're like, oh, we want to see, all into the database. It kind of makes our job easier. So that's a great point that you mentioned, Leo. And just following up on this question, I kind of also want to know a little bit about how you're thinking of expanding on how AI visual or natural language querying empower the non-technical users also on-prem. Do you have any thoughts on that?
That's right. So when you talk about doing data visualization, there's multiple layers of people you're talking about, right? You're talking about your data scientists, right? You're talking about your data analysts. You're talking about your business users. They all have different needs, right? Your data scientists are the guys that are going to go in. First of all, they're going to build whatever you give them. They're going to go build their own, right? Because they have a different idea of what they want to see.
Right.
Business users, on the other hand, that's not their game, right? They want to be able to go in and just work with the data. And nowadays, that is when you're talking about natural language processing or any of the things that are coming out around artificial intelligence enabled automation. They want to talk to the data. They want to talk to their data. Say, show me, tell me and go back and forth until they are seeing what they want to see. And really, that's the kind of most exciting part. But it's even a little bit better than that, right? Because we bring a bunch of out of the box tables and tools for them, right? So they don't just start from a blank sheet of paper and say, imagining what they want. We have, I think, 34 out of the box visualizations that, from our customers we've learned are the most typical. And that's a really quick way to start and get value, and they can go from there.
These are fantastic insights, Leo, and thanks for sharing that. But I'm kind of also curious to learn a little bit about the features when we kind of think about Cloudera data visualization. Can you share a little bit about the features that obviously excites not only the customers that y'all have, but if you can walk us through it and just for our audience to learn more about what features y'all have.
Yeah, so I'll start again with the out-of-the-box visualizations. People really appreciate that. There's nothing worse than being given a platform and a manual and then stare at nothing, right? And so by giving something for people to be able to drop out there on and out of the box on their data, it really okay, now I get it. Now I can see what I want to do, right? And then from there, right, it's about building these self-service drag and drop visualizations. By the way, I shouldn't just gloss over that, right? Drag and drop visualization is a big deal, right? Because it is how people want to interact with, frankly, any screen nowadays, right?
Exactly.
And then it's easy for the more technical part of the house to build additional drag and drop visualizations, right? So business user can interact, talk with the data, and et cetera, and then get with their tech guys, what I really want to see, right? As they get further and further into it. And they can add those things to that library, which is, I think, pretty cool. The other thing is, it's from a data modeling perspective, because of the underlying technologies that we have, you can create what I would call a semantic layer, right? That we bring together data from other sources, right? From MySQL, from Snowflake, from et cetera, and be able to visualize data across the data estate. And that's awfully powerful for our users. Let's see what else would be interesting. Something that Cloudera is famous for, and that is security and governance.
100%.
Okay, because you can just imagine, done wrong, people are going to be able to quickly visualize data that they didn't have access to in the first place, right? So that integrated, it like anything, right? If you're going to have someone make a business decision off of a set of visualizations that are off data, the data's got to be right. It's got to be data that they're allowed to have access to in the first place, and they can't go exposing any information. Again, we're talking hospitals and banks, can't go exposing information that they didn't mean to. So there's a lot of governance and controls inside that makes it easy, cool, valuable to use, but also safe to use inside the estate.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love these points where you kind of, obviously mentioned about the semantic layer, which is super powerful and kind of makes it much more powerful when you kind of, obviously think of pulling in data from other sources. But at the same time, you kind of also spoke about something which every enterprise leader that I talk to, and when they're kind of even thinking about data or the data sharing, they want to make sure that the governance is in place, the data security is in place, and the data that we kind of visualizing is accurate and that we have permissions for, or we want to share with those parties or those teams which have the access to the right data. So that is huge. I'm kind of also wanting to know a little bit about the customer stories, if any use case that kind of comes to your mind when you kind of think about AI powered visualization capabilities within the on-prem environments. If there are any stories, anything that you've been, I don't want you to name any customers, but the different sort of industries who've kind of, enabled themselves with Cloudera data visualization.
Yeah, we have a couple of our largest customers that are banks. Look, we have 8 of the top 10 banks. Most of them are headquartered in New York. You've heard of them all. So it's one of those guys.
Yeah.
But they're doing a ton with fraud detection,
Yeah.
utilizing visualization. You can imagine the real time, massive streaming, real-time data that has to be collected by any financial services company.
Yeah.
And we work at, call it all of them, they're doing some pretty cool stuff with data viz. I was sitting with one of the customers, and they were showing flat out, how they can tell with a spike in this usually means that, right?
Yeah.
And they'd rather put the brakes on and get a human in the loop real quick to see what's going on before letting things run off. So some cool things like that. You've got the in healthcare, right? You're trying to make sense of a lot of data to improve patient outcomes. But as soon as you start touching patient data, you've got PII. You've got information that is really, really tight and governed as to who's allowed to see it. So, that's a pretty strong use case that we've seen in our healthcare clients for on-prem data.
Yeah. I think that is fantastic and great examples in terms of the regulated industries that you've kind of shared. And I'm also kind of thinking, when we think about, and this could be a little bit in the future as well, when we kind of think about even say financial services or banking or insurance, there's a lot of real-time data that kind of happens. So looking ahead, how do you think the platform will evolve, particularly around embedding Gen AI and real-time visualization for such large enterprises? Any thoughts around that, Leo?
Yeah. So if we can all see the trend, and it's happening across the application layer, if you will, everywhere, which is you're going from stuff that a software company has to build for you to stuff that's that you're to be able to modify yourself, and to static reports that can only be generated by a tech person, to more dynamic things that can be generated by a business user, to being able to literally talk to the data, and we're seeing that across all these different applications. I think in the data viz space right now, what we have is clients that are using the data visualization to create insights. And there's going to come a time where that same realization, that same insight is going to trigger an action, right? We talk about, agentic workflows and et cetera, right? If an analysis tells you, hey, based on this opportunity here, we should increase ad spend, or we should use this different channel, decrease here, increase there. There's absolutely no reason why that chain doesn't then kick off the agent who does exactly that, right? And I think that's the kind of thing we're going to see our clients do. I mean, heck, if you've got an issue with dropped calls at a telecom company, it's not like, oh, maybe those are good dropped calls. No, they're not good dropped calls, right?
Exactly.
No dropped calls are good calls, right? So by the time the person is figuring out what to do and calling Fred, somebody should be there behind the scenes, the agent, starting to take care of the problem.
Yeah. No, I think this is such a good example that you kind of shared in who likes the drop calls. We all want it to be as quick as possible. At the same time, if there's someone like an agent, which is already there in place and can help us, nothing like it. So that's fantastic, Leo. This is such an interesting conversation. One last question for you, Leo. And first of all, thanks for sharing all the insights and, telling us more about, the power of database, Cloudera's database. But if folks want to reach out to you, what is the best place? Is LinkedIn? I know there's a ton of information that y'all have put on Cloudera website where they can go and learn from, which I'll definitely make sure to share some links with them as well. But if they want to reach out to you, is LinkedIn a best place to follow you?
Yeah, LinkedIn is best. I'm a rabid LinkedIn user like everybody else. I like posting. I like commenting on things. I like reposting.
Nice.
And I'm in LinkedIn every day, right? So the LinkedIn inbox works fantastically that way. And you didn't ask, but there's some you mentioned earlier so many cool things that Cloudera's been announcing.
Again, Leo, for doing this and coming on the Ravit Show and sharing all the details. Such a pleasure chatting with you today.
Awesome. Thank you, Ravit. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Feel free to drop questions for Leo, and Leo will be taking it afterwards. Thank you, everyone, for joining us again. Take care.